Well, there is a lot going on with Will Smith. Scientology, Nation of Islam, the slap. It's just a mess of scandals. And I will treat that baggage and the movie review in another place. But here I will concentrate mainly on just the pure aesthetics. Obviously, we can't pull Will out of real life because he is, in a way, always performing himself. And that doesn't hurt the character. But I want to keep that in mind because I can, for the most part, just judge the film on its own, but there is a baggage. So, was it good? I will have to say reluctantly, yeah, it was surprisingly a very good movie. Not a great movie, and I mean good in a relative sense. That as a Bad Boys project, yes, for the most part, this worked. Is it the best film of the series, as many people are saying? No, I don't think it is. I think this is a very sharp decline from the first film, which I think is an 8 out of 10. I don't think this is in that category where it's like a genuine minor classic in the action genre. Nevertheless, the directors, producers, writers, and I would have to say honestly, Will and Martin did actually put in a very, very enthusiastic attempt to be a good film, and for the most part, they succeeded. Although there are a few major plot holes and a few twists that were a little lame and silly, and you have to see Bad Boys 3, which I did not. So I didn't get the full flavor of what they're doing, so I want to be careful there. But I haven't seen Bad Boys 3, so I want to catch that. And in fact, they did a good enough job here. I am curious to see what they did with Bad Boys 3. So, what is occurring? Well, it's not much. Basically, their old captain has been framed for something he didn't do. We know he didn't do it because he's a good guy. So, they spring into action to clear his name and their name. And there are apparently some dirty cops and other, quote, backstabbers in their department. And they're going to hurt our heroes. And there we go. So, it's a little bit of The Fugitive, a little bit of the old Bay films in the 1990s, and I think they borrowed the style fairly well. And there's just them riffing off one another, telling pretty consistently good jokes. I was pretty shocked how funny this was. I laughed, I think, out loud about 3 times, and I was giggling for most of the jokes. Not all of them work, but for what they're doing, it was pretty consistent. However, the CGI was really noticeable in a few places. It was not well done, looked a little weird, but I do appreciate them trying some new camera angles, really trying some drone technology. So overall, it was better than I expected, but still not the great film I think people are touting. That said, what is the downside? Well, it sounds weird to say this, but Will Smith is kind of diminished here. The real star here is Martin Lawrence. For the most part, that's not a bad thing. But remember, these guys have gotten much older, so Martin sounds a little weird. Like his voice sounded really strange, very different from the first film. Again, they're getting older. You have to just keep that in mind. But at certain points, they are having like superhuman strength and just being way too powerful and way too strong. So that was very unrealistic, and that took me out of the picture. Nevertheless, these are still, quote, human characters. They do get hurt, they do fail. There was, for the most part, a lot of nice trial and error. Although I wish certain sections were played out a little differently, and they get out of problems a little too easily sometimes. And if you've seen the trailers, they spoiled way too much of the film. That said, there were still many surprises, many twists. Even though I predicted them, you're gonna know who the bad guy is pretty much off the bat. So that was disappointing. So the script is weak, the story is weak, and the plot is weak. However, the performances were engaging. So I can't say support this because I don't like what Will is doing with all these cults, and I no longer am in the Will Smith fan club. But I would have to say honestly, as a film, it was fairly above average. So I'm giving Bad Boys Ride or Die 6.5 out of 10. A very solid action film, but it could have been a lot stronger.